Aurangzeb 1658 till 1707 CE. Aurangzeb ascended the throne in 1658 CE after winning the war of succession against his three brothers. So we have already discussed how Aurangzeb he succeeded by defeating his own three brothers. He ruled for almost 50 years and adopted the title Alamgir, conqueror of the world. So he ruled for at least 50 years and he adopted the title Alamgir, which means conqueror of the world. During his reign, the Mughal Empire reached its zenith and covered almost the entire subcontinent. So it was during the Aurangzeb period, the whole India's area was captured. Okay, so as you can see in this picture, page number 175, India under Aurangzeb. So as you can see, the yellow portion are the areas which was captured by the Aurangzeb. So you can see the whole India was captured by the almost whole India was captured by the Aurangzeb. However, his reign also saw the revolt of many groups of people, including former allies such as the Rajputs, Jats, Bundelas, and other communities like the Sikh, Satnamis, and Marathas. So, it is in the period of you can say Aurangzeb period. He though he was able to capture the whole areas, almost whole areas of the Indian subcontinent, but he had to face many revolt from the Rajputs, Jats, Bundelas, and other communities like Sikh, Satnamis, and Marathas. His toughest struggle was against the Marathas under Shivaji, leading to the foundation of an independent state by the Marathas. So his most you can say toughest struggle was against the Marathas, because Marathas are very courageous, they are very brave, right? So it was very difficult for Aurangzeb to defeat them, and during that time Marathas was under the Shivaji. Okay, Aurangzeb's religious policy brought him in conflict with the ninth Sikh Guru Tegh Bahadur, who was later executed. So Aurangzeb's religious policy was due to his religious policy, there was a conflict with the ninth Sikh Guru named as Guru Tegh Bahadur, and later on he was executed. That means he was killed by the Aurangzeb. He also undertook a series of measures which were anti-Hindu in nature, like the re-imposition of the taxes payable by non-Muslim, that is jizya, and destruction of the temples. So Aurangzeb's policy was totally different from previous Mughal emperor. Previous Mughal emperor, they used to respect the Hindus, okay, but Aurangzeb's policy was totally different and it was anti-Hindu. That means he does not like the Hindus, and that's why he had made such measures or such policies due to which they can be they so that they will not live peacefully. So we already know that Akbar has abolished the jizya tax, right? But again Aurangzeb he reintroduced the jizya tax, due to which the Hindus were against the Aurangzeb, and even Aurangzeb he had destroyed many temples of Hindus. Aurangzeb is remembered in history as an orthodox, hardworking, and God-fearing ruler. So Aurangzeb is remembered in our Indian history as a very orthodox. That means he was strictly following the policy of Islam. He was very hardworking and he was God-fearing ruler. That means whatever he was doing in his reign, he did not fear of God. Whether he was doing good or bad, it doesn't matter. Simplicity of the highest order defined his lifestyle, so much so that he came to be regarded as a Zinda Pir or a living saint. So his life was the simplest form. That means he used to live his life in such a simple or just like a normal person, that he was regarded as a Zinda Pir or a living saint. The impact of many wars and revolt and Aurangzeb's involvement in the Deccan for a prolonged struggle against the Marathas under Shivaji weakened the empire. So we have already discussed that Marathas was the great competitor of the Aurangzeb, right? So when he was planning or yes, when he was trying to capture the Deccan area from the Marathas, which was under the Shivaji, it finally weakened the Mughal Empire. as Marathas was very weak. His death in 1707 marked virtually the end of the great Mughals. So he was the person who had the courage to fight against the Marathas, right? So once he died in the 1707, so later on there were other successors of the Mughal Empire, but they were not as brave and strong as the Aurangzeb. So finally, this was the end of the great Mughals. It was followed by a war of succession among his son and a gradually weakening of the Mughal dynasty. So after his death, obviously there will be a war of succession among his son, and due to which the Mughal dynasty started weakening from inside day by day. Okay, so this is the Aurangzeb at his court in this picture. Mughal administration, the administrative system under the Mughals based on centralization of power in the hands of the monarch is mainly attributed to Akbar. So the administrative system, that means the rules and regulation how to run the empire, it was basically on the hands of the monarch. That means monarch is a system in which the king have the authority to make the rules and regulation in a place or in a country. So which was it was mainly related to Akbar. Akbar was the most famous Mughal emperor. The Ani Akbari, authored by the Abul Fazl, provides a great deal of information about the system of administration as it existed during the period. So a famous you can say book which is known as Ani Akbari, written by Abul Fazl, it gave us a clear information about the how the administrative system was there during the Akbar period or in the Mughal period, and how each rules and regulation plays an important role. Central administration. Centralization of the authority was the key feature of the administrative system of the Mughal empire. So the central administration in any country at present or during those period in any empire, central government plays an important role, right? So that means the administrative structure plays an important role. Without the central administrative, the empire cannot run properly. According to this system, the provinces were ruled under a single centralized authority vested in the emperor. So during those times the monarchy system was practiced, right? So the provinces, that means the states, were ruled by a single centralized authority, that is the emperor, that means the ruler, the emperor. The emperor held absolute power and all decisions of the states were carried out in his name. So the emperors had the absolute power and all the decisions were done by the emperor himself. He was looked upon as the epitome of all authority. So all the power or all the authority, all the functions to run a empire was under the emperor. The emperor was also the commander-in-chief of the army and the chief authority in the matter of justice. So it is the emperor who was the commander-in-chief of the army. That means he will be the leader who will lead his army, okay, the head of the army, and he is the chief authority in the matter of justice. For example, in his empire, if somebody is attempting to do some crime, so he will be the person who will give justice. The nobles and other important officers in the empire own their position to the emperor. So there are many nobles and other important officers who will be under the emperor, and it is the emperor who will be the main important person who will run the empire, okay, and others, nobles and other important officers, they will work under the empire. So hence we can say that emperor is the most powerful during the Mughal period.